Hi guys, and welcome to my movement analysis video of the squat clean. So today I'm going to be walking you guys through pretty much how to do a squat clean, the 4 phases of the squat clean, the muscles that are being used in each phase, and the focal joints. As a quick side note, I got most of the phase information from the NASM Essentials of Sport Performance Training by Michael A. Clark and Scott C. Lucet. So if you guys are interested in this topic and want to learn more, you guys can go pick up that book and check it out. For the sake of this video, we're going to be mainly focusing on the lower extremity joints, mainly focusing on the acetabulo-femoral joint, aka the hip, the tibial-femoral joint, aka the knee, and the talocrural joint, aka the ankle. So with that being said, let's get started. Okay guys, so for the setup on the clean, the first thing we're going to want to do is place our feet slightly wider than hip width apart with the metatarsal phalangeal joint directly under the bar. You're going to want to go ahead and grip it with the overhand grip with your hands slightly wider than shoulder width apart. In this position, just to give you guys another view here, in this position the tibiofemoral joint is going to be in flexion caused by the biceps femoris, semitendinosus, and semimembranosus. And the acetabulofemoral joint is going to be in flexion caused by the iliacus, psoas major, vastus lateralis, medialis, and intermedialis. Also, the talocrural joint is going to be in slight dorsiflexion just because your weight is going to be on the back of your heels. Alright guys, so once we're good with our setup, we're going to initiate the first pull. Now with this, what's going to happen is the barbell is going to be lifted to up around the knees, and this is going to happen by a concentric contraction of the vastus lateralis, medialis, intermedialis, and rectus femoris, and in concentric or contraction of the biceps femoris, semitendinosus, and semimembranosus. Now what we're going to want to remember at the ankle or the talocrural joint is it's still going to remain in slight dorsiflexion because you still want the weight back on your heels as the bar travels upward in order to keep a straight bar path. And last but not least, keeping the latissimus dorsi isometrically contracted will keep the barbell from moving forward and swaying away from the body. Alright, and the third phase of the clean is probably the most important simply because the clean is a power-based movement and that power is going to generate from your hips. So the acetabulofemoral joint, via a concentric contraction of the gluteus maximus, semimembranosus, semitendinosus, and biceps femoris, goes into a state of full extension. The tibiofemoral joint also goes into a state of full extension via an eccentric contraction from the vastus lateralis, medialis, intermedialis, and rectus femoris. The talocrural joint, instead of being in dorsiflexion like all the other stages, is going to go into extreme plantar flexion with a concentric contraction from the soleus and gastrocnemius. Alright guys, and finally in this last phase you kind of have a lot going on. So first and foremost you have the catch, which you can see here. Basically what's going on here is you have an immediate drop into the full squat position, which includes flexion at the tibiofemoral joint from the vastus lateralis, medialis, intermedialis, and rectus femoris eccentrically. And then also at the acetabulofemoral joint have an eccentric contraction of the semitendinosus, membranosus, and biceps femoris. With the amortization portion, basically all you're going to do is lower yourself slightly lower than when you caught the barbell. This is going to give you a nice little dip and drive motion. Basically you're going to use your momentum to kind of come up out of the catch into a front squat. And then on the way up from the squat, basically it's just going to be like any other squat. You're going to be concentrically extending from the acetabulofemoral joint from your gluteus maximus, semimembranosus, semitendinosus, and biceps femoris. From your tibiofemoral joint, you're going to be concentrically extending from your vastus lateralis, medialis, and intermedialis. And then at the talocrural joint, your soleus and gastrocnemius are going to be concentrically extending from plantar flexion. Alright guys, and finally just to talk about some common injuries real quick within the clean. According to an article called Injury Rates and Profiles of Elite Competitive Weightlifters by Greg Calhoun and Andrew Fry from the Journal of Athletic Training, the primary injuries that occur in Olympic-style weightlifting were mainly to the low back, knees, and shoulders, and they mainly consisted of strains and tendonitis. And you guys can see why here in a second. So here we have Kendrick Ferris. He's a United States weightlifting champion, and this guy doesn't have too many injuries throughout the course of his career, but a lot of other weightlifters do. So within this first pull is where you're going to see the majority of injuries happen, simply because when you have that much weight in front of you, the bar is going to try and pull you forward. So if you don't have enough strength, stability, and postural control around the lumbopelvic hip complex and the acetabular-femoral joint, you will see a break in the lumbar curve, and that's the main injury that happens in the Olympic weightlifting. And then once we hit this catch and amortization phase is where you're going to see the majority of injuries occur at the tibiofemoral joint, simply because you're going from a state of extension at the knees with little to no tension on it to catching, in this case, hundreds of pounds within a split second. So making sure the muscles above and below the tibiofemoral joint are strong enough and stable enough to ensure stability on the catch is highly important. And then finally on the drive up is where you're going to see a lot of excessive forward lean, so making sure your lumbopelvic hip complex, your rectus abdominis, internal oblique on the anterior side, erector spinae on the posterior side are strong enough to create this sturdy base for you. And it's interesting here, as you can see, Kendrick, his right knee, begins to kind of cave inward a little bit. So according to the NASM, Essentials of Corrective Exercise Training, I might suggest that he take a little extra time, work on things like his anterior, posterior tibialis, his gluteus medius, and maximus, just to make sure that he's doing a lot of prehab and rehab stuff in order to prevent further knee injury. Guys, and that's it. So I hope you enjoyed the video. I'll show you guys a quick full speed of what a clean is supposed to look like, and other than that, thanks for watching.